I could never have picked it up from his mannerisms or from his speech or from his gestures, because he was gentlemanly, essentially. Cordial, nice, and very cordial. Thank you. I like proper. Why try to find any other words? He was cordial. He was very, very cordial. A nice guy, but not the like. If you write into ubu nice bake and say ukuthi lo muntu has a crush, it would be what is called way in over your head. Girl, you threw yourself into that. He was just a sweet dude. That's all that there was about him. Okay, cool beans and bananas. Did not read anything, all the way up until the very end of the road, like Boys to Men. Into it. Literally, I read nothing into the mention of me being pretty. I just remembered that he was handsome. I thought he was that, and that he was just a nice guy. That's it. Honestly decent. He kept himself to himself. Mara, I wrote him off altogether in his character because like you hanging out with a person on Jenna for all of your life. No, like you have a he's outwardly licentious. You secretly behind closed doors, when it's all shrouded behind smoke screens, are who he is. There's no way you can love each other and bosom buddy with each other like this. Hagana, and you not be him and him not be you. Okay, so proper dude, niafana. So nazanka isa anyway. I never would have allowed myself to be all hyper excited about that really cute guy that is apparently ladies love cool temper. I would never let myself run with that. Kitseba Thomas. Yeah, it would be like throwing yourself into the shark pool. I let it rest. Let sleeping dogs lie. I then get born again. I get promoted. I become a PM. The department restructures. Beefy 2010 World Cup happens, and then Philip is here. Everybody's excited. All over Johannesburg. Soccer World Cup. I'm part of the group hosting program. I put to the back burner for what I imagine to be a season. My working out. It wasn't a season. It was years. My gym membership expired in Patela every single month. Yeah, that's why I didn't go. I didn't go again. I did like proper. I fell off the bandwagon and I never returned to the gym, much at my peril. I gained the weight again. I lost my traction. The what do you call that I made? The gains I made. I lost them, and I was like, I don't care. Down to the McDonald's, dropped the diet plan, went back to eating junk again. I just dropped the ball because the World Cup happened. Okay, yeah. Still to this day, I'm like, Karabo, that was so weak of you. Anyway, I dropped it because of the World Cup. All right. So I didn't continue to go to the gym, and so I never ever again saw Temba. Because that was the only way that I would see him. It's not like I was going to the gym to see Temba. I was literally just getting my workout on, and I was not gonna cheat on my boyfriend. And this guy, even though my boyfriend, I certainly was not looking at Temba as an alternative. There were other people that I was looking at thinking maybe that's the guy, not Temba. Okay, for reasons I've just highlighted over here. I stopped working out. The department restructures. People move over to their own places, and so even Thomas becomes less. I see him less and less around because we're no longer working in the same department. Plus, I got promoted. I became a project manager officially, and so went to another team. So I would only ever see Thomas in, greeting. Hi, Thomas. It's been a minute. How's it going? It's been a minute. How's it going? It's been a minute. How's it going? It was just a cordial relationship. Very well. I then get born again somewhere along the way in 2011. The next year, I got saved. All right, in Christ. At around August, I would then grow from strength to strength. There was this one guy that started working for the company that I had a big fat crush on because I thought he was Christian. Blah blah what. So my heart was now out here beating for that. Okay, not a story for another day. That I'm not gonna tell it. But my affections were always just everywhere else, never there. My ex and I broke up too because our relationship was fizzling out. Like 2010 was the last year that we were together, all of it. 2011 we broke up somewhere early on in that year, and then the transition into Christianity happened at the exact same time that I exited that relationship. If anything, Christ is the reason I was able to leave, because he was holding me hostage with what? Witchcraft. Okay, so I get born again in 2011, and I drop all worldly antics, and I start getting dreams. Like maybe a year into my faith, perhaps 2012, I start getting flooded with this spiritual gifting. There was one day when I get it. Now I'm born again because I'm born again. So remember I told you that Thomas used to love talking about my boobs and what have you. Now that I was born again, I realized, Tuguti, as a godly woman, we have a responsibility to essentially avoid and not linger too much in certain conversation, and also not allow too much physical touch of our bodies by men that are experimenting with their sexual arousal by simply giving us hugs and stuff like that. Like, you can tell when a man is hugging you just so he can get off. You know, you also can tell when a man is claiming to touch your shoulder because, hey, you're my colleague, but he's trying to stroke you. Or men that out here literally will hold your waist. Okay, so you can't see my waist from here, but they'll put their hand around your waist like that. You know, those men who will put your hand around their waist like that, or come from behind you and then just put their hand around your waist and walk with you the rest of the way. That's a very intimate place. It's got a whole bunch of sensory receptors on it that are heightened in their ability to feel touch, because it's a sensual area of the body. Just like the neck has got extra little things on it that when somebody strokes the neck, it feels different than when somebody is stroking your cheek or even your arm or even your calf. There is something about certain parts of the body that when you touch them, it inspires a certain kind of feeling, or it feels close to home, like raw. It feels intimate. And men love to touch that area, even when they're not yours, even when they're not your husband or your boyfriend. Like, I feel fella when he's hugging you, hug you around this area, and then just squeeze your waist, or come from behind you and hold your, literally walk with you holding your waist. And it's like, dude, that's my torso, it's my navel, sorry. It's a very intimate region. And this guy, every so often he would just, hey, Karabs, how are you? And then just kind of his hugs were squeezy and squishy and very, very tight, and he lingered for a little bit longer. And every so often he would touch certain parts of the body that are very intimate. And when I became Christian, even though I'd always been uncomfortable with how touchy-feely this guy was, and now that I was saved, I went out of my way to avoid certain men's hugs at all, and certain types of hugs. If I was hugging a guy, I'm not against hugging men. There are women who are holy distance, do you if it afflicts your conscience, you know what I mean? But I'm all for hugging men, insofar as it's not licentious. There is something as a holy hug or even a holy kiss. Just keep nether regions away from each other. Try not to have your torsos and lick thingy. Duration matters. Duration absolutely matters. A holy hug is a good 1, 2, 3, get out. Yeah. And then there's the kind that people are out here bouncing up and down like they are dancing or doing ballroom. That's a husband and a wife. That's a family that's just had a reunion after 20 years. That's too close for comfort for just a mere colleague that I'm seeing for the first time today. He just loved hugs, this guy. And they were, not for me, clearly, a means of him getting it on with women in his mind, because they were very, very heavy. So I basically made it my prerogative to avoid this guy's hugs. Some guys I hugged, him I avoided altogether. Yeah. So whenever I would see him, I would right by him. That means walk real fast, almost like I'm headed somewhere real quick. Hi Thomas, how are you? Oh, it's good to see you. Hi Thomas, how are you? Oh, it's good to see. Yeah. And however, he was a smart guy, so he was able to figure out what I'm avoiding. I did not want him hugging me. I did not want him. And he used to calling women baby girl. He had all these words, terms of endearment, the kind of guy to call you cherry or honey bee or sweetheart. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but coming from some people, it is flirtatious and licentious. But there are some people who can call you honey or sweetheart, and it be just a term of endearment that is because he realizes he's dealing with the fairer sex, and it's a gentlemanly way to be. So I'm not one of those women that are going to hate men for calling women honey or sweetie in the office, or sweetheart or dear. I don't mind. I really don't mind. But coming from some people, it's flirtation. Stop. And this guy used to call women all different kinds of things. Baby girl, sweetie, what. And I was like, okay, too well. So I started to basically hop around him like oil in a frying pan. And he picked it up, he noticed. And so a year into my faith, I started getting these dreams. And one of the, and again, I was also soaring. I was doing very well in my job. I was newly promoted. I was always, in this guy's eyes, I was always some kind of a student underneath him. Do you understand? And now I was becoming a whole grown big woman that was a professional in her own right. And he didn't like that. Many men in my working environment didn't like that about me. They liked me when I was an administrator out here at the mercy of everybody, groveling and basically painting everybody's toes and sweeping everybody's dirt. But when I became a professional in my own right, it's like they were like, no, you don't get to do that. And you know, it's like this mindset, yeah, you can't be both beautiful and, like a whole professional. But they wanted me to be something that is going to wear an apron. It's cute, it's beautiful, and really it's like, it's gonna be when it lifts weight at the gym, when it lifts weights at the gymnasium, it's struggling. This one's too heavy, please lessen the load. When I became a strong woman before them, which I always had been, it's just that my title was yet to catch up with me. They just hated it, and this guy was one of them. These misogynistic men that I'm actually talking about, like, they want women lowly, want women like these little cherries, want women always just with this glaring blush on her cheeks that can do nothing but hazard, like lights on the side of the street of a stuck car, and be unable entirely to change its own tire because it has that kind of blush on them. I was a pretty girl, and they wanted me to just be this fluff ball. And when I became a strong professional, attack, hi, yes, like it. I got terribly attacked for simply being, what is the word I'm looking for? For finally walking in my fulfilled dreams, if you know what I mean. Yeah, and this guy, guys, go, like, the building where we used to work, very, very huge, open plan, airy, sun coming in. I described it the other day and spoke about how the ergonomics of it was so put together. Yeah, I had a dream of like a soaring white dove. At the stage I was already born again. Like, there was this beautiful bird flying in the building. Go inside, go empty it inside. Like, the bird was soaring inside. It was a very high rise building, like high enough for a bird to just do strides on the roof. Not on the roof, but near the ceiling. And this beautiful dove was just soaring. And this guy, I'm standing looking at this dove from where I'm at, right? And then this dude from behind me literally pulls out, and it looked like it was a handgun, like a rifle, like an AK-47. He pulled out a hunting gun, y'all, aimed at that soaring bird, and then bah, shot it. And that bird went, bah. I saw it land on the floor. And when that happened in my dream, I looked at him and I was like, what have you done? What have you done? Why did you do that? And the dream ended. Yo, guys, that was the first dream that I got about this guy. Do you understand? I would then go on right ahead to get another really horrific dream where I was in the parking lot and I was leaving. It was very dark in this parking lot. I was sorrowful. I was bereft. I had just had a fight or an argument in a boardroom with a colleague, and I was in the parking lot and I was looking for my car and I couldn't find it. I couldn't find my vehicle to go home. Next thing, this guy rocks up, and in my dream, just like in waking life, I remember thinking, I don't like this guy. I don't want him helping me. I don't want his assistance to find him. I'll do this by myself. But he kept on insisting. He was like, I'll help you. I'll help you. I'll help you find your car. I'll help you. In fact, there is no car. I will take you home. I will take you home. And in my dream, I kept looking at this guy and I was like, no, I don't want you to help me find my car. And guys, I literally left this parking lot. Without my vehicle. Yes, in the occult. Yes, like I left this parking lot without my car. And I started, the parking lot was very dark. I went out into the sun. It was an undercover parking. And where it is that I was, this guy kept following me until I ended up following him, right? So it started out with him following me behind on some, I'll help you. And I was rejecting his assistance. And then somewhere along the way, he appears by magic in front of me. And he's wearing these black clothes. And I end up because I was scared. Outside in the terrain where I was, it's like there was no ground for me to walk on. That parking lot was in the basement. It was downstairs. It was not upstairs. It was not a sky rise. And yet it's like we were 100 stories high in the sky outside. And this dude, since he walked ahead of me, every footstep he would take, in front of him there would be a brick, like a stone, that would appear. The encircling environment there was lots of construction work, almost like they were rebuilding the whole building at MTN. Everything and construction workers were knocking stuff in, but we were literally in the sky. I was so high, scared to plunge to my death, that when I noticed this guy who overtook me and walked in front of me, since I asked him for help, and he asked to help me and I said no, then he walked in front of me, and because I was scared, because I'm up, and I could plunge to my death, I noticed that where he's walking, there are bricks appearing in front of every footsteps, like a pathway in the sky, a pathway high in the road, in the air, in front of him, one after the other. And he's stepping on it, walking leisurely, like he's walking easily, like he's not about to plunge to his death, like he's not in any dangerous environment. So I ended up I don't want his help. I ended up following him because of the fact that I had nowhere to walk where I would not fall to my death. I had nowhere to walk where I would not fall to my death. So basically, because he built a footpath in front of him, he built a path in front of him with magically appearing bricks in the air. I walked in the same direction as him, but somewhere along the way, literally in the middle of the air, I stopped and I was like, I don't want to follow this guy. And as I said that, I get he was walking acting like he's left me alone. I get he was walking acting like he'd left me alone on some at your own leisure, suit yourself. He left me with the mindset, yeah, suit yourself, but then walked in front of me. He was hoping that I would follow him and be like, okay, no, wait, I'll come, right? Yeah, that was the hope of this guy walking in front of me. I do just what he wants me to do initially, but then something stops me, and I would imagine it's the Holy Spirit. And I say to myself, I don't want to walk behind this guy. I am Funi. I've never liked him. I'm not going to follow him into whatever future he's going into, even though he's clearly got magical powers to make bricks appear from underneath his feet. I don't care. And as soon as I said that, lo and behold, you guys, I reappear again, boom, in the same boardroom where I was having a fight with my colleagues, and the cycle was being repeated. I was fighting with my colleagues again. One colleague rocked up fresh from maternity leave, a woman, of course, and it looked like she had just given birth. She was exhausted, gaunt on the face, and she was back at work because she was scared to lose her job. So she basically gave birth. It's like she was in the hospital yesterday, and then today she was at work, gaunt, exhausted from childbirth, and she was in the office trying to keep her job, while I was there looking at her on some go home to be with your baby. And then there was a panel of dead people that I know, like people that have passed away that I know. One person in there in particular was my aunt, and they kept on deriding me. They were deriding me. And this meeting ended up becoming a disciplinary hearing against me to get me fired. Understand, this dream, I got it way before all the events that would happen that calamitized me would happen, that would cost me my career. It happened like a good year and a half before I would lose everything. And the dream starts with me fighting with my colleagues, fighting in a boardroom, trying to leave the office, can't find my car. Some male colleague tries to offer me help. I say no. He then becomes the only way to prosperity for me. I decide not to follow him, and because I decide not to follow him, I find myself back in the boardroom again with yet another woman that's out here at work one day after having a baby, and everybody in this room is deriding me, and then it ends up becoming a disciplinary hearing where I'm facing the loss of my job. That's how the dream ended. That dream, dear friends, was nuanced, okay? First and foremost, me fighting with my colleagues, that was evidence of the fact that there would be some kind of tumult, discord zone between me and people within a working environment. It would basically harass my career, okay? I would go in the parking lot and try and get in my own car. So essentially, that would be the tantamount of me getting in my vehicle and then charting the course of my destiny going forward. If at all I'm not happy here at work, I can always go somewhere else in the wilderness. I can always move to another company. I can always do something else if I have a strain in my relationships here at work. If I am unhappy here, I can always go somewhere else. Instead, I can't find my car in the parking lot. And then guess who pops out of the woodworks? Wakamuga, this colleague, this man. It was his witchcraft. He then is trying to offer me help. I reject his assistance. And because of rejecting his assistance, the search for my vehicle becomes a fruitless one, and I end up Kishapaga 2 cities. I'm walking. I still reject his help. And then I find myself high in the sky, basically about to plunge to my death, unless I take his help. I end up seasonally basically kissing his behind, and I follow him behind. But then something in me snaps out of it and says, I don't want this guy. And as soon as I make a decision that I'm not going to follow a magician to help me with my life, to move left and right, that guy, he was trying to get with me. But I didn't like him, and I knew that I didn't like him. Even in my dream, that's what witchcraft sisters is, just a suggestion. How can that guy want to get with me? And there was some woman that was heavily pregnant with his child at the exact same time. That guy, by destroying my career. Because he figured that my strength is what would make it impossible for him to get with me. A man that initially didn't even like me, but then was made to look at me some kind of way because some colleague of his thought that I was the most beautiful woman in the department, and then his best friend kept on probably hammering him down about me on some, so is that chick single? What's going on? I'm single now. What's going on? Understand that best friend of his let me go. He moved on. Apparently, allegedly, he liked me, and I'll tell you why I say that. And he went on right ahead to meet another woman out there in the wilderness. That woman that he was engaged to her, and she passed away in a car accident driving his car. It was very tragic. It was all very heartbreaking to hear this news. At that stage, I already knew him, so I was really sad for him, right? But we weren't friends, so I couldn't call and say, look, I'm sorry about what happened. But he was obviously devastated. He had lost a woman that he wanted to marry. I lost yet more footage because I was out here not recording, sorry, what do you call this thing? I had to go and delete content again. Anyway, whatever, it's cool, I'll repeat. Yes, this guy was obviously devastated because he had lost somebody that he wanted to marry, okay? But him wanting to get married, him getting engaged at all came as a surprise to me because this guy was not busy as well. He was all over the show. And remember, I wrote this guy off based on birds of a feather flocking together, right? That's why I wrote him off. He had some woman that was heavily pregnant at the time that he was not even trying to marry, and we never knew anything about any of the women that he was with. All we knew is that he was busy all over the show with a whole bunch of women, right? And at all. And that's why I could never hook him up with any of my girls, because I didn't trust him. And also why I could never ever accommodate his boy, because I figured that they were birds of a feather that flocked together. This is the kind of man that would be dilly-dallying around, wasting time, and not making an honest woman out of any woman. So when I found out, unfortunately, when the girlfriend passed away, that he was engaged to her, that they were about to get married, when I found out then, because I found out that he was about to get married, or to propose marriage or whatever, because the woman died. And this guy was always talking about his friend. And so he came to work and said, oh snap, my boy lost his girl in a horrible accident. And I felt very sad for him because, like I'd met him before and it was all sad. Like it was hard. Like I couldn't even begin to fathom what in the world he must have been going through, right? But the thing that dawned on me, however, was that he's not like his friend. The thing that dawned on me was that I wrote him off because I figured that birds of a feather flock together. There's no way that you can hang out with a man all in so and not be like that yourself. I realized that they were not the same thing, but that one person was better than the other. And unfortunately, those are the relationships of the world. I should have known, however, better, however, that it is possible to be friends, very close with somebody that is just utterly ruinous for you. Someone that's not healthy for you, someone that is not good for you. Who possible? Because I walked the streets of earth for a whole chunk of my life with a best friend cousin that was the worst nightmare, that would have, if anybody judged me based on her, written me off based on her. I don't know, before I got cut off, I was talking about how it is that and so I lost that footage, but so I'm repeating myself. I spoke about how it is that my cousin, the one that I was on the come up with, that basically like absolutely decimated, shattered my entire future, right? Yeah, that cousin of mine, I don't know how many of my boyfriends that I had, even though they were not the best of men, were perpetually warning me about her. Like one guy, my first love ever, and the guy who took my virginity, was like, well, now you're gonna be sent down a rabbit hole like Alice by a cousin Yahao. She's not good for you. She is going to peer pressurize you until you lose yourself. I was like, I suga to this ace of mine because I love my cousin. And then the next guy that I would date after that, and he was a prolific player, so he was not the best of human beings himself. But despite being a playing gaga, he was like, when cousin Yako is oblahla, he was like, your cousin is going to throw you away. You are a much better woman than crash up schemes as a how. I used to hang out with her and her friend, her best friend. He was like, these chicks don't suit you. You are bigger than that. Naive Karabo. Carried on anyway, hanging out with her. She would later come to betray me But basically, I learned that it is possible to hang out nomuntu ongakufanele, and unless people educate themselves about you, they will literally never ever know that you're different from them. They will never know. My boyfriend of 5 years, the last guy that I would be with any kind of level of seriousness, he was like, cousin Eyao, like, I don't know how, like, as in she's going to lead you astray. She's like, you're not the same thing. Just because you're born in the same family does not mean that you are the same thing. We get that blood is thicker than water, mara omo basop. Literally, my ex-boyfriend wanted to look basop because he told me to basop her. And when he said that this time around, I was like, yo, third time's a charm, bugger. I mean, my first boyfriend, or first love, and then some other player dude that I dated, and now you. And he was not the only one to speak these things. It was also random, like, strangers in these streets who would meet me and then be like, I can't, like, you need to maybe reconsider hanging out with cousin Yako. She's all busy, man. And you're a lot more chill. And a lot of the things that you're doing them because you're literally capitulating to peer pressure under her. One of her own boyfriend, it wasn't a boyfriend, it was an ex-boyfriend. But one time we bumped into him at this cousin. We bumped into him at, like, remember it was a Serengeti or what, some nightclub called Marlboro Pila Highway. Like, cousin Yang Gapa, guys, at the club because she couldn't find me because I was out, like, in some corner, disappeared, making out with some silly guy, and she left me. She was my transport. Her boyfriend was my transport. Her boyfriend was our transport. We went there with like 2 cars, and this cousin of mine who was my BFF Bomba and a family left me in the wee hours of the morning with me having nowhere to go. If it was not for us at the beginning of the clubbing experience, bumping into her ex-boyfriend, some dude that used to be a continuity presenter on KTV, if we did not bump into this guy, into them, because they all went to the club together. Yeah, if we didn't bump into them and in the beginning be like, hi guys, what's up, and then all go in the club together, I would not have gone home, because thank God, labo ex-boyfriend, the ex-boyfriend is King Sai Kesonke. They were still in the club. They didn't leave yet. And when I went out, popping my head out, this guy is like, Karabo, what are you doing here? Your cousin left. We said goodbye and everything. I was like, what? They left me? They left me? That was the grace of God, I kid you not. He was like, cousin Yako left you here. Yes, like it. Anyway, I ended up going home, go to this guy's house, and they partied all the way up until like 9-10. And then in the morning, ganga taxi. A whole chunk of the guys, his boys, tried to sleep with me. That's like, it was so freaking disturbing. The next day I felt like I had AIDS. Never go that window. Go. And this guy is like, he was, thank God for him. He was like, guys, leave her alone. And he looks at me and he's like, what do you have on you? Are you excreting an excess of pheromones or what? These guys, he locked me in Kamorea High. But his boys literally tried to knock down the door. They're such beasts. Anyway, whatever. I slept 2 hours, where this guy used to stay. And in the morning, I combi taxi and I went home. Well, it was already morning, but more morning. I combi taxi and went home. But before when we were still sitting because they decided to extend the party until 9-10, like when I left those boys, he chatted with me and was like, I get that your cousin is my ex, but she doesn't deserve you. You don't deserve her. You don't deserve this. You're a student. You're studying. You're at Wits. It was my first year. He was like, you're studying. You're at Wits. You're serious about life. What would have happened yesterday if we weren't there? If you would still be Serengeti. You might have even been taken home by someone that might have raped you. Look at what all of these baboons are trying to do. They're trying to scratch at you because and they're trying to take advantage of you. Your cousin left you only in that state, at the mercy of all these guys. Like, she literally, this is simple. You need to start making different decisions. Hey, Karabo is being lectured by a YoTV or is it a KTV presenter? Yeah, you would think, who's the kid now? Well, I mean, he was at that stage. Like, we were all kids. He was 1 year older than us. He was already 20, but he was still on KTV though. Anyway, whatever. Yeah, no, this guy was yet another dude, but it was not so much my boyfriend this time around, but one of her exes. Aja told me, and well, I was right. So I told you briefly that story to get to this point. It is possible for 2 people to be tight as thick as thieves, bosom buddies, waiting bomba, and one be heavenly while the other be hellish. And absent of people making observations, very close and careful ones at that, with magnifying glasses, looking paraphernalia and microscopes to gauge the difference between the two. Literally, you will be awarded the character of Rabishiena. You will be birds of a feather. You will be made to flock in the same sea of worthlessness. Lebon. As a result of this guy hanging out with a man that was similar to my cousin, basically the worthless character that Archie is hanging out with a gem. Mina personally, I wrote him off. I was like, yes, you guys understand this. Throughout my relationship with my ex, for the last 4 years of our 5-year relationship, I was like a periscope in a submarine, out there looking left and right, because me, I knew I wanted to leave. If the right guy came along, Mengizo Mushia, ex-boyfriend for that guy. It was something that I knew. It's the reason why I allowed myself to have a big fat chunky crush on some dude that fits while I was dating my boyfriend. It's the reason why I allowed myself to have a big fat chunky crush on some dude at MTN while I was dating my boyfriend. I was always looking out for something else. Ka bring back lost love, ka hold her hostage, unasa pulling his weight. So essentially what I'm getting at is that Chomelea, that guy from work, Utemba, if I had any different kind of opinion about him, if I did not think that he was the scum of the earth just like Thomas, I would have opened myself up to the prospect of being with him. But I shut him out. Like, I literally shut him out based on who he was hanging out with. That's a man that's locked in. But I'm gonna explain to you how locked in he was, that guy, as we continue to conclude this particular conversation. Okay, I was locked in under my ex-boyfriend. I was also locked in under my cousin because I was in the world. I was lost. Remember locked in syndrome? I suffer from locked in syndrome. My ex-boyfriend, not ex-boyfriend, but my cousin betrayed me. When we were still kids. When I was only like 20. I mean, that's adult but kitty, right? I was 20 years old. She betrayed me. She showed me that she made no sense, that only live rubbish. And after I recovered my life and that betrayal came and went because she had no more muscle to flex above me, I'm back. And I was back again to hanging out with that same nonsense. However, my guard was slightly up though, even though she was still maintained in my life. You know what I say? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. With my cousin, it was shame on me. She fooled me once, it was shame on her. She fooled me twice, it then became shame on me. Because look at my life today. I accommodated someone that already God showed me, get out. But I didn't get out. And indeed, I ended up getting what? Broken. Devastated. I was suffering from locked-in syndrome. People who suffer from locked-in syndrome get fooled once, and it's shame on them. And then they get fooled. It's shame on the people who hurt them. But then they get fooled a second time, and then it becomes shame on them. This gentleman that was the friend Tamba, basically the one that I gave the name Tamba, it was shame on Thomas at first, but then it became shame on him because he got fooled again. Because listen to this. When Tamba told Thomas, I like Karabo, what's going on over there? Karabo was already a periscope, looking for a dude that's a lot more stable in life, a lot less crazy in life, a lot less, you know what I mean? Like, just not only flashy, did my ex, only fluffy. And this guy wanted to take me from him, and I'm gonna explain to you why I say that. Because the Lord showed me later what went on. I didn't know anything about what was going on with this guy until God himself said so. Okay, yeah, this dude, my guy prepared, essentially. He was prepared to steal me from my ex. Because you see, that's the thing about men. Balwana, and they sometimes, when everybody's still single in the sense of you're not married yet, it's fair game apparently. And this dude, my ex got the funeral, and well, my then boyfriend at the funeral, and was like, I can take him, and started to basically attempt to take me because I get ladies love cool Thomas or King Tamba. He was LL Cool T. So so he told himself when he saw my ex-boyfriend, who was a pipsqueak in comparison to him. That guy was a giant alpha male. He basically told himself, I can take him. I'm gonna wrestle that man in the cockpit and I'm gonna get Karabo. He tried to, but guafloba somewhere along the way because of fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. Sorry. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. He was fooled by his friend. He was fooled by umngani wakhe. But anyway, I know, therefore, that it is possible to hang out nomuntu ongafanele. But when you're in the world, even though you know you're better than someone, like at some point, I got to a point with my cousin where I realized that if I continue to follow in her grain, and I'm not going to end up anywhere. I saw that if I followed in the grain of my cousin, I'm not going. Like when she fell pregnant, never, okay, so falling pregnant out of wedlock is something that happens very easily in the world. But when she fell pregnant, that's not next. Baby daddy because I used to always copy her and everything she did, and I had a boyfriend with whom I was stable at the time. I was like, me, I'm not gonna go give a man a child just because you gave a man a child. I used to follow everything my cousin did. Like I used to date guys that were in the crew of boys that she used to date, even though I knew they were bad guys. She was all over the show, illustrate me, liking guys, party, and whatnot. But I was an academic. There was a certain kind of niche of a man or guy, dude on the come up that would have made a lot more sense for me. Academic dudes that also were in the library, academics dudes that are out there also studying at Wits University, guys on campus. I could have dated people literally when I was a student at Wits, but I kept on dating these hood rats because that's who my cousin was always with. That's who she was always with. So I was like, none of my boyfriends ever suited me, including Yena when I was 5 years. He came highly recommended through her. I never ever was with a guy with whom I could relate on similar dreams. I was better off dating dudes on university campus than the ones I ended up with. Because or the kinds of guys she used to date. But there comes a time when you get older or when you mature, when you wake up and you snap out of the crazy that you're in, when you realize that, look, I love my friend, I love Umganwam, I love my cousin, but Lomudlon is going to lead me astray. So the warnings, the admonitions of my ex-boyfriends, they finally dawned on me, such that the final admonition of the last boyfriend that I had caught when he was like, even though in and of himself he didn't make sense for me. I finally realized that 3 guys, 4, including one of her ex-boyfriends, cannot tell me the same thing about this woman, and I take it seriously, coupled with my own observations of Tabari. Her life decisions go nowhere. Blah blah blah, all that jazz. On Monday, she kept on quitting jobs because she was scared that she's gonna get fired. So before she got fired, she would resign because Unadula Ali absent. Yeah. When I saw this, and I was a student, I was also working. I was basically ambitious, gunning for my own life, right? My own dreams and what have you. When I made an observation of how carelessly my cousin was living and how this was literally destroying her future, and when she made the decision to have that baby, now I was like, I will still jam with her. I will still party with her. I will still basically be seen around everywhere in public society with her. But when it comes to making life decisions, when it comes to making decisions concerning love, when it comes to making decisions concerning family and future, like degree, like basically like work, I mean, I could not do babalas on a Monday morning at work. I'm not doing it. I basically restrained how much she can make me swing on a chandelier like Sia. I restricted it. I made a decision I'm gonna look out for my future. Somewhere along the way. There comes a time when you're dating an irresponsible all over the show that you are following around because for the meanwhile. They're above you. They're beefier than you, so you look up to them, you really love them, you adore them. You've been friends since you were 2 or whatever. But there comes a time when you realize that Lomontulona, with whom I've been friends since I was only 2 years old, is irresponsible. You still love them, you still hang out with them, you still chill with them, but you decide that you're not going to do what they do. So it's no more are you going to peer pressurize me. It happens even with worldly people. I was worldly, and I made a decision to divorce myself from the decisions of my cousin, but not so much from my cousin. But you see, worldly folk, it's not enough to merely divorce yourself from not making the same decisions as them because you notice that they are on a downward spiral. You can make decisions to where not be a better man or be a better woman, but because it is when you make better decisions for yourself and don't follow in the same grain of irresponsibility that they're in, that they then decide to manipulate you spiritually. And so with my cousin, it was fool me once, shame on her. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, I guess there's no God, except there was a God. The Lord rescued me from the spiritual manipulation, because the decision that the better person in the union of a bad relationship, a bad pairing, makes is what causes this Cain-like archetype. This person that's a bad example to then spiritually manipulate umuntu that they can see ukuthi akasa influenceki. This person that they notice that you're no longer influenceable. My cousin noticed that I was no longer influenceable, and not only that, her life decisions started to basically manifest bad outcomes for her, while my life decisions, my newfound leaf on life decisions, manifested better outcomes for me. And the better outcomes were exactly what it is that she was trying to block. She wanted me to be in the same grain as her, but I divorced myself from it, and that's when she started to invest in a whole chunk of witchcraft against me. That's where that scripture comes in handy. Bad company corrupts good character. All right, it's not good enough to merely tell yourself, I'm not going to do as my friend does. You have to literally separate yourself. The Bible says, do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. What friendship does light have with darkness? Friendship with the world is enmity with God. The Lord says that you need to be ye separate, essentially sever ties. You need to make the decision that is going to be very heartbreaking. You need to make the decision to cut someone off that you love because they are unhealthy for you spiritually. Hence why it's written in God's word that if anybody leaves mother, father, brother, sister, houses, fields, homes, etc., they will on that day also lose they will inherit 100-fold over all that which they have lost with persecutions, and in the next life gain eternal life. So you are going to lose everything, but you're also going to gain everything. Also, it's written in God's word that if anybody does not hate their mother, hate their father, hate their brother, hate their sister, etc., they cannot enter the kingdom of heaven, because you have got to literally sever ties with people that you really love. Because if you don't, like I said, they fooled you once, shame on them. If they fool you twice, shame on you. If they fool you 3 times, it appears there is no God, except there is a God. You have to wake up and realize it is not enough for certain kinds of people who are like Cain, who don't want to chocolate themselves, who don't want to wear a vestige on themselves of responsibility. They literally, vomit that on you. They project that on you. It's like misery loves company, and they adore to just drag one another down. So you can't just have them around. You can't just keep them around because they're going to weigh you down. You have to sever ties even if it hurts you. And with me, by the grace of God, my cousin was the one that actually passed me a whole bunch of shade when I gave my life to Christ. But you see, if I had not given my life to Jesus Christ, she would not have severed ties with me. She would have only in the back end manipulated my life spiritually, which is what is unfortunately going on with Tamba still to this day. So anyway, having spoken all that, I find out that this Tamba guy lost a fiance, and that's when I found out that he was about to get married, or that he was about to propose, something of that nature. And that's when it dawned on me that, whoa, like, this guy was not who it is that I thought he was. He met a woman, and in a very short space of time, he proposed marriage to her. And chances are he was in the beginning of his life just doing whatever his boy was doing, and the two of them were swaying left and right as on a hammock. But then, just like me, snapped out of it, realized, I love my boy, we'll always hang out. But me, I want stability. Me, I want a wife. Me, I want a life. Thickness, I want girth, I want meaning in life. So I'll keep my boy around. I'm not gonna walk away, but I'm gonna do life responsibly. This guy hated responsibility. He wanted, just like my cousin, to be the one that's running the show, calling the shots. Here it is that this man, Kofi, makes a decision to go and shoot a dove that is flying dead in a dream. The dream that I got with the dove was the Lord showing me that this guy saw you soaring in your career, and then took out a big fat chunky machine gun and brought you down. The bird in my dream was me. Hence I looked at him and I was like, what are you doing? Why did you do that? And he just ignored me after shooting it down. Only for me, a couple of weeks down the line from that dove dream, me getting a dream where it is that I'm literally in a fight with colleagues, get in the parking lot, can't find my car, it's all dark. He comes out, he offers me a ride and assistance. I say no, I don't want help, especially not from you. He is like, fine, suit yourself. I end up having to follow him anyway because I'm put on dangerous turf. The moment I try to do my own thing, when I decided then that I'm not going to continue to follow him, I find myself right back at square one, fighting with colleagues, and this time around it results in a disciplinary hearing that would cost me my job, and that's how the dream ends. This man wanted to enter my life, infiltrated so proper. If his boy at some point was like, Karabo, please talk to Karabo for me. He then made a decision, I'm gonna take her, and one day I'm gonna rock our boy and say, Karabo and I together. Over and over and over again. Is Karabo still single? Is she still with that guy? Are you sure that she's not interested in me? Just ask her. Just ask her if she'd be willing to go on a date with me. I know she's got a boyfriend, but just ask if she'd be willing to talk. And then after he be asking his boy, your colleague, so what's going on? Your colleague, so what's going on? He then comes home with me, us holding hands. Betrayal, dog. He was prepared to betray Utemba with me. If me, Hlongwane had capitulated to Lomtakati, because the muntu may because he wasn't coercive or forceful, because he wasn't one of those hair-shattering, fostering men. You know, men that when they see you, they go really aggressive to try and make it clear with Funa. His friend never did that. Because he was the kind to stand back and basically ask and see, you know, feel around and listen to the ground type setup thing, listen with his ear to the ground. Because he was that kind of decent dude that is not aggressive in his approach. The aggressive one was like some dude, like these random dudes obviously not busy talking about her, and now you mean I am funa for myself. Like, dude, like what? Anyway, he was like, I want it for myself, even though his boy asked first, even though he never liked me. This guy to a point where he thought I was nothing much. I was nothing much until some white dude said Karabo is by far the most beautiful woman in the team. Then he started to like think, and then when his best friend kept on hammering him about me, he was like, okay, my friend who is LL Cool J, but instead of LL Cool J, it's LL Cool T, wants a woman, almost like she's LL Cool, but like instead of ladies love, it's men love cool Karabo. The woman that men love is wanted by the man that women love. I'm gonna get the woman this time around. Like all these women that throw themselves at your feet, you're gonna finally understand what it feels like when they go right by my nose in favor of you. Cause I'm gonna bring home the one that you want. And I'm a kwapa. I'm gonna kwapify the woman you've been asking me about. Cause you know you're LL Cool J, right? You know your ladies love Cool J's. You know you are ladies love Cool Temp. And you know that if I were to tell Karabo, my boy's been asking about you, he's wondering if you're willing to, you know, concede on your relationship with your boyfriend in favor of him. He knows that granted that LL Cool J was as cool as he was, or LL Cool T was as cool as he was, that I might have glitched and twitched. I might have been like, whoa, interesting. Cool J likes me because he was really good looking. But really, all that LL Cool T had going for himself, as at that date, seeing as I didn't know his true character, was his looks. I don't know if I would have considered based on his looks, but I do know that I was a periscope in my relationship with my ex-boyfriend. I certainly wanted out. And so LL Cool T would have been a big fat chunky threat to my ex too. LL Cool T would have been a risk to my threat too. So here it is that LL Cool T and ML Cool K men love Cool Karabo. LL Cool T and ML Cool K, both respectively, were held hostage by people using spells. We were both in, what do you call that thing? That syndrome that I spoke about, locked in. We were in a locked in syndrome. I couldn't move and be where I wanted to be, and neither could LL Cool T move and be where he wanted to be, because we were locked in by occult practitioners. Men in the world, civilians, men and women in the world are civilians. They're not soldiers. The only people that can overwhelm locked in syndrome are saints, to overwhelm their own locked in syndrome, and also to be the doctors like Dr. House in the show House MD, that can diagnose LL Cool T's locked in syndrome and also diagnose ML Cool K's locked in syndrome, enough to get both Tamba and Karabo out from the coma that they're in, or the locked in syndrome where they want to be with each other but they can't, because my ex-boyfriend had held me hostage. I can bring back lost lava. You're gonna be mine. You're not gonna move. You're not gonna barge. And it's strange because Megasaba, Thomas, the beefy guy, Thomas. But I guess for good reason he ought to have been scared, because right next door to Thomas was someone that I would have, if at all he opened my eyes to who he was. I was gone. Never. He did not stand a chance, Shem. I was gonna get nice and early married. Cause he proposed marriage to a woman he knew for a few months. She unfortunately died in a car accident, but the death of that woman confirmed to me, because that's the only time that I found out that this guy was serious enough to go and make an honest woman out of a woman. As soon as he fell in love, he literally proposed marriage within a year. They were together for mere months, and the unfortunate accident happened. So, long story short, I'm trying to help you understand, Uguti, as civilians, y'all need to uncivilian yourselves and make yourselves soldiers, otherwise but unable to speak for yourselves. And I'm out here trying to be your diagnostician to let you know that you need treatment. I am trying to be your diagnostician to help you understand what you need treatment. I am trying to help you realize that it's not going to do anything for you to cower in the climate of occult practitioners, because they're literally blocking lifetime legacies. They're blocking men and women from meeting, falling in love, and getting married, having children, and building legacies. They're blocking people from establishing their own life courses, charting the course of their own lives, that they might go out there and do what they want to do. This dude literally, like the dream that I had, unblocked from seeing any other option out of the rut I was in other than through him. Hegelian dialectic. Devastate an ecosystem so you can rock up and rescue the day. It starts with a fight in the office, it ends with a disciplinary hearing. And in the middle, the only help I get is from Thomas. Yeah, locked in syndrome. Do you understand? Absent of you divorcing yourself from certain people, you will never breathe as a person. And secondly, absent of you coming to Christ, you will never be freed from locked in syndrome. Witches will perpetually make decisions on your behalf. They will take your wives, they will take your husbands, they will take your careers, your businesses, everything you can do. That even though you are not evil to the extreme of that kind of manipulation, you are still nonetheless lost and hellbound. And so because you're lost and hellbound, it's easy for them it's easy for them to block your marriages. This dude was prepared to come the same way. He used to play with all these women, and he wanted to come and flail me in front of his boy. On some, you be getting all the women. Well, this time around I got one that you want. It's like Namaka Monta's queen chikana. He was never even going to love me. He wanted to flail me in front of his boy and say, the woman you've been speaking to me about for months. And this guy was here too. Oh, was I gonna end up singing Beyonce? He's always laughing and flirting with me, and you act like you don't even care. As a matter of fact, you've been real distant lately, acting like I'm not even there. He says that you don't deserve a girl like me. I'm starting to think that he's right. Baby, if you let him take me from you, I guess I'll finally see. If you let him take me from you, you never wanted me. You let this happen and it proves that your love was never true. If you let him take me from you, baby, if you let him take me from you. Why isn't that when we go out together as with one crew? I try to kiss you or dance or whatever, and your homeboy's more interested than you. He pays more attention to me than you lately. I'm tempted to pay attention to him too. Baby, I guess I'll finally see. Yeah. Boy, when I try to show some affection to you, you act like you've got better things to do. When you want some loving, that's when you're cool. Well, baby boy, I'm not a fool. Whoa, I guess I'll finally see who you never wanted me. No, 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 no. How could you let him take your woman, baby? You better, if you let him take me from you, I guess I'll finally see. No, no, you never wanted me. You let me go, you let me go. If you let him take me from you, if you let him take me from you. Locked in syndrome, proper. I would have been this guy's girlfriend, and his boy would have been perpetually looking at Karabo, and yet you treat her like nonsense. Next thing, if at all I'm out here flirting with a dude, like playing musical chairs between friends, what happens to the woman? You get called a whore. Uzobizwa, a harlot, because you dated friends. But he wanted you first, and his boy decided to go to and this is a game, a hunting game, and I'm going to pounce on her. It happened to me twice. He's always laughing and flirting with me, and except I never capitulated to the guy giving me more attention. Some dude that I had massive feelings for in primary school. Later on, I would come to learn that he was the friend of my ex. He wanted me, and then became really bitter later on because my ex-boyfriend got to me first, and now this dude wanted to create a similar scenario where I'm dating the absolute wrong guy in a crew of friends. and his boy is paying more attention to me than you lately. I'm tempted to pay attention to him too, and baby, I guess I'll finally see. But the thing is, this dude, I had no feelings for him, so he wanted to inspire them in me. And say I'm the one that got Karabo. While his boy would have been like, but boy, I told you I liked her. But anyway, I guess may the best man win. No, the best man did not win. The worst man manipulated a woman, put her in a locked state, and caused the best man to lose her. Basic.